Good evening, and welcome to the Alpine Orchestra Through the Ages concert. My name is Beth Steele, and I will be your host for this evening. Under normal circumstances, I would be conducting, but due to COVID-19, the orchestra as a whole has not been able to gather since last March. Fortunately, our musicians have figured out how to rehearse in small groups and socially distanced to keep the music going. And with a lot of hard work, we are pleased to bring you this concert. Our first selection, Sabre Dance by Aram Khachaturian, will be performed on xylophone by Debbie Harmon. Debbie has been playing percussion since the 5th grade. In high school, she learned all the percussion instruments and went on as a music major to the University of Northern Colorado. Over the years, she has continued to perform with different percussion and mallet ensembles. She and her husband moved to Buena Vista 8 years ago, where she worked for the Climax Moly mine. Speaking of that, many thanks to the Freeport-McMoran Climax molybdenum mine for their generous site investment grant, which allowed the orchestra to purchase much-needed percussion equipment. Without further ado, here is Debbie Harmon with Sabre Dance. Thank you, Debbie, for that rousing opening. Well, our first ensemble tonight is the Woodwind Trio, featuring Sue Greiner on flute, Brenda Covert on alto flute, and Brandon Chisholm on bassoon. Now, Sue began playing flute in the 5th grade. She has played Irish whistle in the local Celtic band Crossroads Gathering for over 30 years, and also plays with the community dance band in Buena Vista, and flute and whistle on the worship team at Clearview Community Church. She and her husband, Joe, owned the Wilderness Aware Rafting Company for 34 years until selling it last December. During COVID times, they have kept busy hiking, camping, and rafting. Now, Brenda, a former medical technologist and volunteer in retirement, has played flute and piccolo for 62 years. Obviously, she started as an infant. She played in several bands, orchestras, and the Silver Winds Flute Ensemble. She added the alto flute 2 years ago. During COVID times, she has enjoyed the outdoors and playing flute duets with Sue, and now trios with Brandon and Sue. Brandon has been playing bassoon for 20 years. He currently serves as the worship pastor here at Clearview Community Church. He also directs the Collegiate Peaks Chorale, and since they also had to cancel the fall season due to COVID, he put together a chamber ensemble from all over the valley called the Greater Arkansas Valley Choir and Orchestra, which will be performing a Christmas concert live December, let me see if I can find it. Let's see, December 11th at 7 p.m. It'll be on YouTube, and you can check out clearviewcommunity.org and check back to see us. During COVID times, he and his wife, Lindsay, got a schnoodle puppy named Wrigley. Can you tell he used to live in Chicago? Now, Schnoodle, the schnoodle puppy, has been keeping them busy with lots of training and fun. Well, now that you know a little bit about our players, let's hear what they're going to play for us. One of the most important French composers and music theorists of the 18th century was Jean-Philippe Rameau. He is most well known for his compositions for the harpsichord, from which this first piece, Tambourine, was taken. Tambourine is a generic French term for drum, and you will hear how the music imitates a drum in the bass. Here is Rameau's Tambourine. That was great. The next piece the trio will perform is by Norwegian composer and pianist Edvard Grieg. He is the most celebrated person from the city of Bergen, and his use and development of Norwegian folk music in his own compositions, like Dance No. 2, brought the music of Norway to international consciousness, as well as helping to establish a national identity. Please enjoy Norwegian Dance No. 2. The final piece in this set is also by a French composer and virtuoso pianist, Claude Debussy. The Petite Suite in 4 movements was originally written for piano 4 hands and became one of his most popular works. The trio will perform the 4th movement. Here is En Bateau from Claude Debussy's Petite Suite. Well, for something completely different, next we'll feature a trumpet and violin duet. Trumpeter Barbara Dorr received her music degree from Drake University, which is also where my mother and great-grandmother studied music, by the way. Barbara performed with the Des Moines Symphony from the age of 18. She also taught trumpet in Des Moines, performed as a freelance artist, and played with the Cedar Rapids Symphony, Quad City Symphony, and the University of Iowa Brass Quintet. Mary Howman, violinist, has been playing violin since the 4th grade. She started in Wichita, Kansas summer music program and began private lessons that fall. Her music studies took her to Oberlin Conservatory of Music in Ohio, then to Salzburg, Austria. She played professionally with various orchestras and chamber music groups throughout Europe and continued to perform and teach violin after returning to the U.S. For 27 years, she was also a flight instructor and a Continental Express airline captain. In addition, she was an FAA inspector for Continental and United Airlines. She continues to play violin and assists as a volunteer in school music programs. Barbara and Mary present our next piece, composed by American conductor, music educator, and parodist Peter Schickele, also known as PDQ Bach. He wrote this when he was a guest soloist with the Des Moines Symphony, in which Barbara was playing. The conductor of the symphony mentioned to him that it was Barbara's birthday, and Peter Schickele wrote Eine kleine Mariachi music in honor and instructed that it was to be performed with her husband, then the concertmaster. The charming part of this work is that it was written on one large sheet of paper with the trumpet playing from one end and the violin playing from the other end of the score. Please enjoy Eine kleine Mariachi music. Well, thank you, Barbara and Mary. We want to thank a few important organizations. First of all, to Clearview Community Church for their hospitality in sharing their performance space and YouTube channel so that this performance can take place. There are lots of people behind the scenes, and we truly appreciate their support. Also, a big thank you to Valley Fellowship Church for providing rehearsal space for the Alpine Orchestra strings. And we want to thank our advertisers, too. Those advertisers were scrolling on the screen before the concert started, and we so appreciate your support. And speaking of support, if you'd like to help support the Alpine Orchestra, when you're on our website, there is a donate button. So you just click on that and donate whatever you can, and we appreciate it very much. Well, our woodwind trio is back to perform a piece composed by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. A child prodigy, Mozart began composing at age 5 and performed for European royalty on violin and keyboard. At 17, Mozart was engaged as a musician at the Salzburg court, but grew restless and traveled in search of a better position. While visiting Vienna, he was dismissed from his Salzburg position. He chose to stay in Vienna, where he achieved great fame but little financial security. During his final years in Vienna, he composed many of his best-known symphonies, concertos, and operas, and positions of the Requiem, which was largely unfinished at the time of his early death at the age of 35. He composed more than 600 works, many of which are recognized as pinnacles of symphonic, concert, chamber, operatic, and choral music. He is considered among the greatest classical composers of all time, and his influence on Western music is profound. Ludwig van Beethoven composed his early works in the shadow of Mozart, and Joseph Haydn wrote, quote, "Posterity will not see such a talent again in 100 years," end quote. Here again is the woodwind trio with the Divertimento No. 5 in C major by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Okay, well, our grand finale will be performed by our chamber strings and harpsichord. I want to tell you a little bit about some of our musicians. Elizabeth Riley, our harpsichordist, first studied piano with her father, starting when she was 4 years old. By the time she turned 5, her father decided she should study with a real teacher, and so her musical career began. She received her bachelor's degree from Morningside College and her master's degree from the University of South Dakota. She has taught on and off in the public school system for 14 years and at a community college in Prescott, Arizona for 2 years before moving to Salida in 2016. She has been conducting, performing, directing, and accompanying for all sorts of groups, including pit orchestras, large choral groups, chamber groups, musical theater productions, musical reviews, and various church choirs. Currently, she is the choir director and pianist for the traditional service at the First Presbyterian Church in Salida. A little bit about our other musicians. Katie Hess, viola, has been playing viola since 4th grade, starting in the public school systems in Concord, Massachusetts. She is currently working as a clinical supervisor at Breckenridge Dermatology. During COVID, she says she planted potatoes in her cupboard around Father's Day and was really impressed with how easy and prolific the 3 potatoes were by Labor Day. One of our other violists, Pablo Hadriga, is a retired engineer and has been playing viola for 10 years. He enjoys hiking, biking, reading, cooking, and traveling. In fact, he just made it back to the U.S. one day before the COVID lockdown while biking from the north tip of North Island to the south tip of South Island in New Zealand in February and March. Ruth Heckman, another violist, started playing violin at the age of 12, although she wanted to play the flute like her older sister, but the family couldn't afford to pay for another one. Then the summer before her 6th grade, her grandmother passed away, and they found her grandfather's violin in the attic, so she started playing violin. And when the Alpine Orchestra needed a violist last year, she answered the call and learned viola. She is playing Mary's extra viola tonight. Our final piece is by Johann Sebastian Bach, a German composer and musician of the Baroque era, and he is generally regarded as one of the greatest composers of all time. Throughout the 18th century, Johann was primarily valued as an organist and his keyboard music, such as the well-tempered clavier. Those were both extremely influential. Bach's best-known orchestral works are the 6 Brandenburg concertos dedicated in 1721 to the Margrave of Brandenburg, who had requested some pieces. For all but the first Brandenburg, Bach adopted the 3-movement slow, fast order of the Italian concerto, as well as its triadic themes, steady driving rhythms, ritornello forms, and styles. The 3rd and 6th feature multiple string parts with continuo. Here are the 3 movements from Brandenburg's Concerto No. 3. Thank you for joining us for Music Through the Ages, presented by the musicians of the Alpine Orchestra. Check our website, alpineorchestra.org, for future concerts. We look forward to playing for you again in person or online. Until then, stay well. Good night.